Good morning, everyone. I would ask that while we're here today that you would pray. I was reading that book the other day, and they said when people pray in the audience, this one pastor said he could feel it. And this morning I really need your help because I'm suffering from some illness and some things like that. And I would just ask that you, as I'm speaking, that you pray for me and that the words come out right that I want to say and that the Lord wants to say this morning. We have been going through the 10 Commandments, and I get the blessing of telling you about the 10th commandment. And if any of you guys realize that it's a little bit out of order, we should be going over the 10th one, the 9th one today, but we had to switch some things around, and I get to tell you that one today. But before I start, let me have a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I ask that you be with me and be with each one of us here as we come to worship you, as we come to hear something that you want us to know today. God, we want to fall down and think about the things in our lives, and we want to find out how we can get to know you better. And in your name, amen. I was deciding on two titles for today. My first one was, Where's Your Focus? And the second one would be, with an exclamation point at the end, Covet God. If none of you know what the 10th commandment is, it is the commandment on coveting. At least that's what everybody says. They always say coveting. But it's about coveting something, coveting something. The other day I was talking to Howard. We were talking about the sermons and different things, different ideas, and I was telling him, I was like, it's pretty interesting. I'm reading through this thing about how to prepare a sermon, and they say your introduction and conclusion are the most important parts, what people remember. And if you look at the 10 Commandments, what's the first thing in the 10 Commandments? Well, no other gods before me, but before that it says, I am the God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Don't have any other gods before me. So that's very important. That's the first thing. That's his introduction to the whole 10 Commandments. Then what is the conclusion of the 10 Commandments? Don't covet people's houses. Don't covet people's wives. Their things, their ox, their servants. So I was talking to Howard. I was like, it's interesting because it almost makes me think that idolatry and coveting might be two of the most important commandments, if you look at it that way. And so I was looking at it and trying to figure this out. And so, the things that I've looked at is that there are many words that can be used to say coveting in the Bible, and even in life. Greed, lust, adultery, and then there's things that coveting leads to: anger, jealousy, hatred, bitterness. Some people, when they covet things, they get depressed because they're sad because they don't have. And so, the first thing I want to do this morning is, there are Bibles in your chairs, and we're going to go through a little bit of a marathon here really quick. Just over like 3 or 4 verses. I guess that's not really a marathon, but the first text I want to go to is Hebrews 13:5. If you guys would grab that Bible in front of you, and we can go there. If you don't know where Hebrews is, it's in the New Testament, close to the end. If you find Romans, keep going. If you find the T's, keep going. And it's just after all the T's. Hebrews 3:15.
3 or 13?
Sorry. 13:5. I told you I need some prayer this morning. Hebrews 13:5 says, "Let your conduct be without covetousness. Be content with such things as you have. For he himself said, I will never leave you nor forsake you." this text is the one that I really wanted to set everything up on. And the reason why is because the way that Paul talks about it. He says, let your conduct be without covetousness. Now, if you look at the Greek word, or even if you look at some of the other translations you might have, it says what? Someone tell me what something else that it says instead of covetousness.
Love of money.
The love of money. Okay. And that's very interesting to me. And I'll get to that in just a second. But the text says, let your conduct be without covetousness, without the love of money. Be content with what you have. So it's saying, people that have or can covet money are not content with what they have. And then it says, why should we be content with what we have? Well, for he himself said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we should be happy with what we have because we have God. And because we have God, we're going to show that in our conduct, in our character, and how we display things. Display our emotions and things to people. And then we're going to be very content with that. The second text that I want you to go to is just to the left a little bit. It's 1 Timothy 6:10. It's 1 Timothy 6:10. Okay, 1 Timothy 6:10 says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness and pierced themselves with many sorrows. So this text really hit me because in Hebrews it says, let your conduct be without the love of money. And then in Timothy he says that the love of money is the root of all evil. And so I just made sure I went and checked the words, and they are pretty much the same word, different little nuance about it, but it is the same word saying the love of money. And so that brought me to trying to figure out the different forms of coveting, because coveting is the root of all evil. So my first conclusion about maybe the importance of the first and last commandments might be true. That coveting might actually be one of the most important. If not, probably not the most important. And the reason why I say this, because let's go to Genesis 3:6. And I want to read this to you. Genesis 3:6. Now don't get tired on me. Keep turning those pages. Genesis 3:6. If you don't know, this is a story of, in the garden, the snake comes to Eve. And then when you pick it up, where she's seen the snake, she's there, she's talking with him. He's giving her a spiel, a talk. And then she goes and looks at it. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. So if you see all the way back, the first sin that's recorded of humans is the whole desire for something else. She wasn't happy. She thought that she could be wiser by eating the fruit than wiser that she was with God. So coveting led to her first sin, or desire. And then let's go to Romans 7:7.